Okay, it is Tuesday, May 3rd. 59 degrees today, beautiful fucking weather, nice little breeze, some shenanigans in the sky, of course. I'll take X in the center square, please. I did a lot of my scenery shots from around the lake today because of how beautifully green it is over there. But the green is certainly returning to these woods as well. Had a little run in the other day up by the lake with some of the local wildlife. I tell you, today was like a bird sanctuary over there. But the other day when I was coming through, just taking my walk without making a video, I came across this snake. I mean, look, there's snakes in here all the time. You see them, you just kind of walk wide around the path, or, you know, if they're at the water, you kind of just watch them. Well, I'm coming up, you know, where it's all kind of overgrown now. And to get where I'm going, there's like a hill, an upward hill. And I get momentum going up this fucking hill, man. Halfway up, I'm eye to eye with this Medusa, this fat fucking snake that's looking at me. I'm going across the whole top of the fucking hill. I'm like, holy shit. Tumbled down like a fucking cartoon.
Oh, yeah, go!
Oh my God, it was funny. But of course I went back in there today and took my scenery shots in there, so that's what you'll be seeing. No snake today, but like I said, tons of fucking birds and shit. Beautiful. Anyway, chaos in the world's still continuing while everybody thinks it's all over. Yippity-doo-da, kumbaya. You know, all those truthers were wrong. Meanwhile, you know, making fucking disinformation fucking laws.
Let's talk about a different topic, which is what you are calling, your department is calling the Disinformation Governance Board. You unveiled that this week. Republicans are calling it Orwellian and comparing it to the Ministry of Truth in the novel 1984. Can you clarify what exactly is this? What exactly will this Disinformation Governance Board do? Will it monitor American citizens?
Dan, I'm very pleased to do so. It's clear, I mean, those criticisms are precisely the opposite of what this small working group within the Department of Homeland Security will do. And I think we probably could have done a better job of communicating what it does and does not do. Yeah. So what it does is it works to ensure that the way in which we address threats, the connectivity between threats and acts of violence are addressed without infringing on free speech, protecting civil rights and civil liberties, the right of privacy. And the board, this working group, internal working group, will draw from best practices and communicate those best practices to the operators, because the board does not have operational authority. The board does not have any operational authority or capability. What it will do is gather together best practices in addressing the threat of disinformation from foreign state adversaries, from the cartels, and disseminate those best practices to the operators that have been executing in addressing this threat for years.
Republicans are criticizing your decision, the administration's decision to choose Nina Jankowicz to lead this disinformation board. They say she is not somebody who is neutral. Your response?
Eminently qualified, a renowned expert in the field of disinformation. Absolutely so.
Information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain, they're laundering disinfo and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice or vote.
Stops free speech and calling it disinformation special teams or whatever the fuck. You got the conflict in Russia, Ukraine will continue and escalate, of course. It needs to be used to blame all the food shortages that are coming on, because it's Putin's fault.
You want a piece of meat?
2 years of shutting down the supply chain and attacking the supply chain with lunacy and nonsense by killing chickens and giving vaccines to animals and doing all kind of crazy shit. And of course the actual disruption of the transportation of food. Farmers being given incentives not to grow food. Farms being closed from lockdowns. All of the nonsense bullshit that we've seen over the past 2 years, actually bringing forth the consequences of those causal factors, those things that happened, which are going to bring consequences. But, we're going to blame it on the out of nowhere, Putin war, and a conflict that's been going on for 8 years, when they're all following their orders, doing what they're told, giving central banks reasons to print, governments reasons to request trillions of dollars to continue to inflate the dollar.
Driving that train, high on cocaine. Casey Jones, you better watch your speed. Trouble ahead, trouble behind, and know that notion just crossed my mind. This old engine makes it on time, leaves Central Station about 8:45, and you know that notion just crossed my mind.
The actual strength of the dollar, its spending power, getting weakened astronomically faster than it ever has in history. And all being done purposely to bring in this great reset where you will owe nothing of the op. And again, people like de jour de liouche.
I am de jour de liouche.
Going out there and plugging his connection to AI as the bad guy, with guys like Elon Musk right on board, out there looking like the good guy, buying Twitter and gonna reestablish free speech. Yeah, I don't think so, Tim. However, people need their external heroes, It's funny because, the left is going crazy over Elon Musk. Which, of course, is what they want. And then the right is thinking, meanwhile, it's all a distraction. The guy in his Neuralink company wanting to connect the human brain to AI, however, does asterisk it by saying it might not be a good idea.
What happened with you where you decided, or you took on a more fatalistic attitude? Like, what was there any specific thing, or was it just the inevitability of our future?
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile.
Resistance is futile.
I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene
listened.
in a movie
Nobody
where
listened.
the robots are going to fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one.
Is futile.
Doesn't stop him from trying to do it. It just, he thought we should know. If you point these things out, people just want to put you in a box. They want to make you a lefty or a righty, a Trumpy or a Bideny. extreme conspiracy theorist or a loony liberal, And again, the people that actually have an understanding of the core truth and where it lies in the middle of this chess game, realizes that both sides are just being used to pit against each other in a divide and conquer strategy, while the same people doing the same things, no matter what side is in government, continue bringing in this technocratic hell and creating laws that restrict freedom and running PSYOPs all over the globe and spreading disinformation themselves to get you to support their bullshit and to ignore what they're bringing in order to keep control and to maintain tighter control under this new monetary system umbrellaed by the social credit system, which of course will also have to be vaccine compliant and green required, carbon compliant, as well. And will never allow you to speak anything it does not want spoken without bringing down your social credit score and thus creating a situation where you're not allowed to participate in the economy, But that's not slavery. We should all just do what we're told. Shut our fucking mouths, I guess.
What am I, a goof?
Or just sit back and go, well, it's not gonna happen, for people who don't know a goddamn thing, not only about history, but can't see it repeating and can't look at these people's own documents and bills and laws and treaties and shit they're passing all over the fucking planet because of this bullshit Event 201 nonsense they brought. I don't know, it's 2 years ago, that they were able to get the entire fucking world to lock down over a fucking sniffle,
The pandemic has radically changed the world as we know it, and the actions we take today as we work to recover will define our generation.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis.
2020 has been challenging on a lot of levels, as economic, environmental and societal frailties have been laid bare. But it's also proved that when we need to, we can act rapidly and restructure our lives.
The recovery from the pandemic is an opportunity. We can see rays of hope in the form of a vaccine, but there is no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout.
You don't want to go back to the status quo that you had before simply because it was the status quo that got us here.
With everything falling apart, we can reshape the world in ways we couldn't before. Ways that better address so many of the challenges we face. And that's why so many are calling for a great reset.
Again, people who are clinging to this narrative, still walking around with their fucking face muzzles, can't let go, are going to jump for joy when the fucking thing comes back. I told you, because they are bringing it back. If you think this PSYOP is over and is not precedent setting, which is why, of course, they're making all of these laws and passing all of these global treaties and procedures, pandemic procedures, to follow, so they can look like they all came together. They are all together. They're all owned, and they're all working towards the same goal: total global control, with the glue being the new monetary system, umbrellaed by this Chinese social credit system that will force you to do what you're told, if you, of course, enjoy being a slave. If you want to be free, you're speaking out against it. You're trying to alert people to it, to encourage them to do their own research, to look into the aspects of privacy coins when it comes to cryptocurrency and compare it to the new system they're trying to bring in and speak about under Biden here in this country and every other fucking bozo in their own countries. Take a look at what the World Economic Forum is saying and doing with this Bond villain and this Doofenshmirtz nut, and of course there's the miracle jab, speed operation, warp speeded by the hero himself.
I came up with a vaccine, with 3 vaccines. All are very, very good. came up with 3 of them in less than 9 months. It was supposed to take 5 to 12 years.
And yet more people have died under COVID this year, by the way, under Joe Biden, than under you. And more people took the vaccine this year. So people are questioning how...
Well, no, the vaccine worked, but some people aren't taking it. The ones that get very sick and go to the hospital are the ones that don't take the vaccine. But it's still their choice. And if you take the vaccine, you're protected. Look, the results of the vaccine are very good. And if you do get it, it's a very minor form. People aren't dying when they take the vaccine.
So, anyway, not only are all the resources owned by all the same people, but all the means of spreading information around about what's going on in the world are also owned by the same fucking people. Therefore, the nonsense being spewed on television each night, the propaganda, the KGB news, as it was referred to in communist Russia when the same shit happened there.
When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate 1 generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation, what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world, that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. Your leftists in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. But they may turn into the most bitter enemies of Marxist-Leninists when they come to power. And that's what happened in Nicaragua. You remember most of these former Marxist-Leninists were either put to prison or one of them split, and now he's working against Sandinistas. It happened in Grenada when Maurice Bishop was already a Marxist. He was executed by a new Marxist who was more Marxist than this Marxist. Same happened in Afghanistan when first there was Taraki, he was killed by Amin, then Amin was killed by Babrak Karmal with the help of KGB. Same happened in Bangladesh when Mujibur Rahman, very pro-Soviet leftist, was assassinated by his own Marxist-Leninist military comrades. It's the same pattern everywhere.
A bunch of fucking babies in this world who don't want to take the time to realize that the evil exists all around us in our own governments, all around the globe. And the only way to combat this technocratic takeover is to realize what they're doing and not do it. Not give them what they want, which is, of course, the non-compliance with our own enslavement, which is what we talk about over and over and over again, which is the only way out of this mess. So, putting our voices out there in opposition to what is going on in the world is what people need to do. Speaking out in opposition to it, not complying with it, being an example to others, and encouraging others to also not comply with it, in the understanding of why we're not complying with it. Anyway, just a quick check-in. Again, beautiful day, beautiful green returning. So I wanted to do a quick video, a little bit late this week, but better late than never. And I'll wrap this together, try to get it up by tomorrow night, meaning Wednesday. If not, it'll be Thursday. Again, hope all is well, and see you on the next one. Get learning, get speaking.